the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Anything to add to it?
No.
Okay, make a motion.
And first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Approve the minutes from, April 19th.
I read through them, they all look good, so I make that motion.
Second.
The first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna do claims real quick, so you got a stack of them they wanna get through.
The numbers I had for general was 445.84, and drainage was 472.50.
That's what I had.
Okay, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
I'm assuming that one claim in there, because we got a new vehicle, was switching radios and stuff over for...
Got a cheer from the crowd in here. All right. We're gonna have you up with, who wants to do the talking?
Anything else, just for a couple minutes, to go over? He's just gonna run out and grab it.
Oh, okay. Not really.
Okay.
But I mean, we could do the quotes for the auditor's office.
Yeah.
Should have that in your
I
packet.
mean, not the, yeah, for the air conditioner down here. Here it is on top. We had, two quotes, one from Winger and one from, NCIS. Speaking with the gals in the office, some of these units are like heat pumps that heat and cool. There's really no need to have something that heats, because we already have heat. I've asked them if they've read, some of these are heat and cool units already, but they never use the heating portion of it. So, the top one on NCIS is not the lowest. The number 3 quoted on his is the lowest. But I visited with him and he says that is just a basic model. He said the fan in that one's a little bit louder than the first one. I visited with him about it. He says he could have it here in a week and get it installed. So the availability is good on it.
We're talking the 4265 one?
That one there, I asked him about, he says it'll do the job, but he says it's a little noisy.
Okay.
The other one's more efficient.
The other one's a little better quality, and it's quieter.
So the 47...
4775.
Okay.
Option one then.
Yeah, the very first one. Don't say option one, but the very first one.
No.
No, they're option 2.
Oh, I see, yes, it does say option one. Excuse me, Sandy.
Okay.
All right, option one.
So, that's the one where,
That'd be my recommendation after visiting with Mitch.
and I guess I'd rather keep the, nothing against the other people, and they appreciate
I appreciate them sending in a
putting a
quote.
bid in. But I'd make a motion to accept, option 1, the cooling only.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. All right, we move on to...
Are we gonna put these things on any, 'cause there's like 100 of them,
What did we count, 28?
20-something. And I just wanna make sure we have the things marked so that we know that it was installed and when it was installed, so that we have an idea how old and when they are gonna need it. Perfect. All right.
Remind me to visit with you about that after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a whining guest.
Yes, Okay, introduce our new officer.
This is Rooster,
Rooster.
a 2-year-old Dutch Shepherd, and just started on patrol a week or two ago, April 1st.
So you had him out a little bit, have you?
Yep, he's gotten a couple searches in already, so, I got him from Texas when he was 9 weeks old. His dad was an importer from overseas, and won a KMPV championship, it's like their police dog competition. So he was brought over here as a stud dog, and I had him picked out even before he was born from the litter, so.
Explain the difference between a Dutch Shepherd and
He has, everyone thinks of police dogs, but I think of German Shepherds. In the last 10 years, working dogs have gone to a lot of Malinois. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're brown dogs. Oops. They're brown dogs, a little bit smaller than a German Shepherd, but a lot higher drive.
More energy.
Yeah. And, so if you saw the dog that was all over the news for the Bin Laden raid, that was Malinois. He's got Malinois in him, overseas when they do KMPV breeding. They're breeding for workability, not really looks. So, they don't know what it looks like, they just breed it.
Yeah.
And then, if the dog comes out looking like this, where he's brindled, they call it a Dutch Shepherd, and if it comes out brown and with a black face, then it's a Malinois.
Oh, I see.
So, when you're working, he's working.
Yep, he...
And what is that dog trained to do?
He's considered a dual-purpose police dog, so he's trained to, locate and identify, or locate the narcotics odor, evidence recovery, he'll find human odor, so somebody's running along and throws a gun or throws evidence or something, he can locate it into a ditch, he can find that. He does tracking and he does criminal apprehension.
His teeth are sharp, right?
Yeah.
So he's
He likes to use them too.
He's not particularly a bloodhound, but you could have him find someone.
Yeah, he's, he tracks and he loves tracking, and he's real good at tracking.
Okay.
There's a difference between, there's a difference between bloodhounds and, a lot of working dogs, and the bloodhounds do what's called trailing. So they're following more specifically just the human, skin that these dogs will do that too, just not to the same extent.
How often do you have to work with them?
What's that?
How often do you have to work with them?
Every day.
Every day?
Yep. It was something that I wanted to do, and I told Dean about it when I got on the sheriff's office, I wanted to be canine again. And so I said, if I can provide a dog, is that an option? And he said, well, let's see how it goes. So I've been working with him since I got him.
Okay.
And it's, through the process, you wonder.
He didn't like that person was right.
He's a defensive dog, he's not a pet, so.
Right. He's not some dog you run up to and grab.
Right. I am part of a training group that's, northeast kind of Iowa here, and, he's been through the fight too a couple times on guys and left scars, so it's kind of hard to get people to train with, because he's a really hard fighter. But he's a real good dog.
What's his name again?
Rooster. I got a question for you. I know years ago, they always used foreign language when you talk to the dog. Do you still do that?
Yep. So it's mostly just dependent on where the dog comes from as far as what language. As far as what the language is that the dog understands.
Okay.
But my last dog was from Austria, so it was trained in German, so he's trained German too also, so that's the thing we have with dogs. She's retired and still at home, so.
Okay.
Lots. Sit. Who's?
Well, we look forward to having him in Humboldt
Yep.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do good things.
Should be a great asset.
He's done a couple good things already.
Yep.
Good.
And I guess the biggest thing for you guys is, there's fair labors and standards, laws that govern a canine handler because of the extra duties and responsibilities that a canine handler has during off-duty time. And so we've been in communication with Renee, the HR person, and she did some research, and Wright County and Webster County each pay their canine handler $1,000 a year extra stipend to help compensate for off-duty time, things like that, so that we're in compliance with the Fair Labors and Standards Act. And so that was, I guess, the add-on to what we wanted from you guys was to get a formal approval to approve of the extra $1,000 a year to compensate him for the at-home care, the extra stuff he does, or if he does some training while off-duty, that type of stuff.
Well, I have a question. That dog is ours, right? Or is that his?
He just donated that to the sheriff's office.
That's what I wanted. And we're responsible for all medical care, right? I'm assuming?
Yep.
I just wanna make sure. I don't have a problem with it, I just wanna I didn't know how that worked.
Well, and the $1,000 stipend is the sheriff's budget.
Yes.
It's just, you're just asking for that.
Yep.
Formal
Extra.
approval. Formal approval.
Yeah, something changed to the contract.
Well, I certainly,
Union gave their blessings on it too and stuff, so.
well, if you're looking for the $1,000 stipend, I would make a motion that that's approved.
I'd second.
Okay, we have a first and a second on the stipend. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Put him to work. Yeah. Good dog.
Well, there are a lot of, like, you'd say more than dual purpose, several purpose dogs that are trained. He can do several things. I mean, he's a front-stepping dog.
Yeah, it's considered dual purpose whenever it's apprehension and narcotics. Apprehension and...
So that's his two main things, and, but yeah, you said like if you're tracking somebody that's trying to get away, he can find evidence and hopefully the person.
Or if somebody wanders off an Alzheimer's patient wanders off.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, and he's taught that,
He'll
whoever
grab an
whoever
order.
he finds, he's gonna grab.
He's looking at who he's tracking,
Right,
that guy.
right.
Not an old person.
Right,
You want to keep
it's always at the end, so...
You want to keep a leash on him.
You wanna, Andrew, just quickly, you wanna talk about what you did at the school last week?
Yeah, so the school, if you kept up on the school board stuff, the new school board that was in wanted to, one of their main items they were gonna focus on was drug problem in schools. Now, I don't know to what level the drug problem is, you'd have to talk to the school, but they wanted to show that they're combating that and showing zero tolerance for any kind of drug use. So even before he was going, I had the superintendent Murray calling me, asking me when I can get dogs into the school. Last week, we were able to get it for the first time. My training group came down, and it worked out because the training group came down, we searched the school, and then that afternoon, we went and did our training. So, and while we were out in school, we didn't find anything in the school, which I thought was good news. And then we searched several cars, kind of randomly picked out throughout the parking lot, sit. And the dogs alerted on the car. Search warrant was wrote on the car, and there was quite a bit of paraphernalia, THC wax, alcohol found in the car. So that was his first productive search.
I imagine the training's ongoing with the dog.
Yeah, so by federal standard, we're supposed to have at least 16 hours of maintenance training every month. Now, he's a young dog, and those hours will eventually come down to about 16 hours a month. With him being so young, I'm trying to show him all the different pictures that he's gonna see on duty, so that when he gets into a situation, he'll already recognize what he's supposed to do. Sit. So, I think this month and the first month, I'm up to, I'll make probably almost 30 training hours probably, just trying to get him to realize what his job is. The first couple days he was in the car, he kind of just sat in the back seat and stared at me because he didn't know what we were doing, so he's figuring it out just like I am.
The advantage to having him with Andrew being hooked up with this training group based on Garner is for just what happened last week is that Andrew then has resources when they get training, they can have a bunch of dogs come into the school or a factory or something like that, because a dog, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but a dog's attention span is only so long, and when you've got such a big area like the school and parking lot and stuff, you need to have a bunch of information for Andrew that at least once a month, because his training group meets every other Wednesday, so Andrew, at least once a month, will do his follow-up training, so he'll get 8 hours of his training, 16 through the training group on Garner, wherever they end up training that month. And then the other 8 hours Andrew is doing on, either while on duty or like in the mornings before he comes on duty, he can go out and do that to make sure he's got his minimum of 16 hours each month. But, so that's the advantage of getting hooked up with this group up there and doing the training with them, is then it just opens up a whole level of resources if we would ever have something, plus the documentation for the dog and stuff like that.
So you're saying if push came to shove and you needed more than one dog, you have the ability to contact these folks?
If we were to have a person that runs off out in the river or something like that, Andrew can within a few minutes make a couple phone calls and he can have dogs coming. I mean, not that they wouldn't anyway, but with being with this group, he's got the
You have the contact, right, so that's a good thing.
connection with that.
A good example of that would be the thing that happened in Laverne. They were looking for a weapon that was used in that, and they had dogs up and down both the sides, in both ditches, looking for whatever they could find, so. And I don't know how many dogs they used, but it had to be a lot.
Yeah, that's good.
We appreciate it very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Andrew, good luck.
Takes a lot of extra time for you to...
Yeah, it's fun though, it's something that I wanted to do, so
Uh-huh.
I was very appreciative that Dean was willing to work with me to make sure that I could do something I wanted to do.
It's just part of your family.
Yep.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
Yeah, in Winnebago County, they donated the cage for us.
Yeah, it all kind of worked out.
So,
Well, I remember you came in some time ago and kinda got us up to speed on that with the cage and the fact that you're doing it, and so, that's good.
Yep. Well, thanks for letting me come in.
Yeah, anytime.
Appreciate it very much.
Yep, thanks, Anthony.
There you go.
Our meeting.
Oh, we didn't give you
I'll call you later.
Okay, that's fine. Yep.
He said, that's boring, I'm out of here.
I gotta get going, we gotta get something done.
All right. Okay. Let's move down to accept and place on file Veterans Affairs quarterly report.
Looks like doesn't look anything too wild, does it, David?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either.
Looks like they're
Yeah,
about averaging out on the budget versus expense.
Yeah, we're down.
yeah.
Pretty down, yeah.
We picked up one new one last month.
Mhm.
And I see by the bills that we had a burial.
I saw that.
I wonder if it ain't the county instead of the vets.
What was...
What you're thinking there, Dave?
Hmm? In the bills, there was a burial in there, and I think it was for the county and not the veteran.
Oh, I see.
Because there's about $500 difference between the two.
Oh, okay.
County burial is $2,000 and vets is $2,500. Probably should be raised sometime.
Well, if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to accept the quarterly report for the veterans.
I'll second it.
Have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Do we need to consider that, Dave, for next year, or what?
No, I'll hold it as it is. We'll look at it in the future.
Alrighty, we have 8:50, so let's go into drainage, because Colin, is he gonna be on the phone? I don't think so. Okay.
I'll make that motion to go into drainage.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are in drainage.
Don't get...
Kim leave it listed in the corner.
She was here, yeah, I don't know, she must have been back from the dog. Made her nervous. Made me just a little nervous. You know what it's like? I kept my hands close, I didn't reach out. Sudden movements.
Yeah, that's,
They bite through Kevlar, I thought,
you're not wearing a Kevlar
Oh,
today.
And he thought my leg looked like a nice pork chop.
Well, then you start wondering what's he smelling.
Yeah, those dogs that are put down, they're trained to whatever they're going after,
Oh, yeah.
they're going after it.
I heard that they did open several lockers up at the school,
Mhm.
but, didn't find anything. Found it in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to set a completion hearing on DD 7/2.
We currently have the reclassification hearing for June 7th at 9 o'clock, and Colin has stated that he'll have the completion report ready for the same time.
And we do it, then we can do it then.
Yeah, we should be able to do it like at 9:15 or 20.
9:15.
9:15.
Okay.
At the hearing at 9, so 9:15.
Is that what you're saying, Dave?
Yep,
Right,
make that
so-
motion.
I'll second Dave's motion, so we're looking at the completion hearing at 9:15 on the 7th of June.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that was quick and easy.
Painless.
All right. Well,
And the only other thing I wanted to address is the Thor blacktop that I had sent pictures to everybody a couple weeks ago. We've got Rick and Travis Peterson heading down to clean out both section 11 and 14. And he will be on the east side of this open ditch. And he was wondering if we wanted to...
move up the ditch.
Yeah, just take care of that one area that's looked really bad.
Yeah, there's almost two areas in there that need attention.
Yeah, there's another area just further east of that.
It ain't as bad, but it
No,
could be
not
cleaned
as
up a little.
bad,
Well, if he's in the area,
right?
My question for Ben, you know, there's absolutely no shoulder there hardly. Something we should look at is moving the ditch over a little bit, or would that be an extreme expense? Because
Not
we'd
sure
have
what
to,
the cost for it would be. You know, usually you do a benefit cost analysis for something like that, and determine how many accidents.
yeah, have we had, in your memory, can you remember anyone going in there?
I don't, but I can get back on the DOT's page, I think they go back 20 or 25 years for accident reports, and see if there are. Basically, we do a benefit cost analysis on how much we think the project will cost to move the dredge ditch over versus the benefit that the county was seeking.
is that area that you were talking right there by Gary Keenan?
Yeah, just
Narrow bridge, too?
Yeah, that narrow bridge is east of there.
Yeah, this is the area.
Right.
Yeah, this is where it crosses the Thor blacktop. And Rick is starting at this point here and cleaning north.
Which someday that bridge is scheduled to replace, so if the dredge was moved further away, it'd be easier to replace that structure. Right now, it kind of glides off right on the north side of the bridge. I'm not sure.
Maybe at that time would be the time to do it. Yeah.
Like a cooperative project, you know.
So you wanna hold off on that?
No, let's fix them, because, you know,
Okay.
it could be 10 years before we do that.
Okay.
I'll have them go ahead and fix them two slopes.
Something's gonna start to rain.
Yeah, he might have to hydro seed that if he could,
Well, that's,
or maybe just seed it, hand seed it, and make sure he seeds it, because
Okay.
I went out to, or drove out by Humboldt, west of town also. It looks like there's some of the, I didn't drive back in there because it looked like the field was planted and I didn't want to get scolded, but it looked like he had done something with the bulkhead up in there, so I was gonna try to get a hold of Ben's and after he gets off of work and see what he's got going on or how things are progressing out there. 'Cause it didn't look like there's any tile, there's still the two open spots that he had.
yeah, I don't think he's done much work to it.
I just gonna let you know that.
just looked at. I contacted Don Reefer, and he does have that noted on his, protocol.
Make sure.
Yeah, he said, so they don't even show up. I said, that's not much. I said,
Yeah, I didn't even know it
no,
was.
don't feel bad, but I said, if there's any bushes out there or something, I just pull them out now, but he said he's got it noted, and we took a look at that.
Okay.
But yeah, if you look at it, it's just, like out in the middle of nowhere, a ditch, so. Anyway, he said he would definitely put that on his, brush control program.
Okay. So we get a vision about this?
Right, yeah, this is Pocahontas in, District 171 has a project that they had done some repairs, and on your map that is highlighted in the oranges, should be towards the bottom.
This one.
Yeah. Oh, that's your, oh, never mind.
The areas that are highlighted in the orange are the percentage of the acres that they had to actually,
Yeah.
it was just spoil piles. So now they are asking for reparation for damages done to the actual crop area, and they have computed that at 1.2 acres of damage, for a total cost of $780.04 per acre. So they're asking that the board approve payment to the owner, Martin Jansen, for $936.05. And the Pocahontas board is actually meeting, their meeting is tomorrow at 10 a.m.
They will, is that the email? This is regarding the email you sent?
Yes.
Yeah. 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, 10 a.m. tomorrow. So, I had sent a message and asked if there was somebody that could maybe, if we could call them during our meeting today, but I was notified their meeting is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's something that you can pre-approve and make, I don't know if you can make a phone call to them at 10 during their meeting?
I was wondering if we can call in, or do we have to come up here to call in on a joint phone? That'd be my question. They probably want three of us at least to call in, so we have a representation, because this is kind of, it's not a lot of money, but it's more the principle of it, that's,
You can do conference calls on your phone. I mean, I could, if you wanted me to, I could start calling and then get everybody over there.
yeah.
Call each one and we'll call them. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that would be fine with them, because we do conference calls with Webster.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have to be here, I could do it on mine.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
So do we need a motion to approve this then,
I think we'll do it at
at that meeting?
that meeting.
All right.
Okay, who wants me to call?
I'll be around.
Okay.
I'll be around.
Daily. Okay.
Mine, you can always call 9-2 if you have an issue.
Okay. All right. I'll call you guys, so you start calling at 9:55, is that okay?
Yep.
That way.
Be fine. So I guess my question on this is, are these outside
Yes.
set aside?
They're outside, they
Right.
did they take a 40-foot strip right away, I think?
Yes.
They
Right?
took a 40-foot right away from the ditch, and these piles are outside of that 40-foot.
Right, the light dotted area is the right-of-way. And there's two of them, the lower two actually show that they're in the right-of-way.
Right, well, that's what I was wondering.
Good point, Bruce.
Because that one, the one on the curve at .21 is like half a couple of buckets that rolled down into the,
Yeah.
Is this,
I guess the $14 corner bid or beans or...
their total was $936.05.
Right.
And this is, let's see,
The 5 areas that are highlighted in orange total 1.2 acres.
right? So, how much is the percentage of this is Humboldt counties?
Very, very fractional. They'll probably be
was gonna say.
Might be under 50. It won't be a whole lot.
I mean, I'm fine if everyone's agreeable to do their conference call thing. I'm not gonna have time for that tomorrow, but, or if you wanna do it that way, fine. But shouldn't, like you said, it doesn't amount to much, and you're with Bruce, it's really infringing close to the right of way, but it must be just out of, so shouldn't be a big deal.
No. Okay.
Sandy, I will get you the phone number and the access
Then
code
call
for
you
that.
in too?
She probably needs to be on it too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
You have to take notes for
take
the
notes of
record.
it, okay.
All right.
Plus it's just coming out of your check, whatever it costs us.
There you go. My bonus check.
Well, Rick said it's only gonna be about $50.
It ain't gonna be much.
I hope you're right.
The vast majority of that, then.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have a full section in this,
Yeah.
I mean,
I won't even charge you for administrative fees.
Back to,
Won't even have to rip them more.
DD6,
yeah,
was it, Rick and Travis, I was gonna look at jetting out that pipe under Roosevelt?
yes.
Okay, 'cause Kim had emailed me last week, with a question from Ken Nielsen, and I knew we had somebody in the works to jet that pipe out.
Yeah, they're gonna clean the ditch up to the pipe and then jet the pipe.
Just like,
Yeah, they're starting down at the Thor Blacktop. They'll work up through section 14 and then 11, and that actually will end right at Roosevelt where that culvert is, and he'll go ahead and jet that out.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause he said right now, there's quite a bit of just silt and sludge.
Well, I drove up in there, there's a lot of standing water.
Yeah, he said they
But a
were
lot of ditches are running pretty dry, since you can see it,
Everything upstream of the pipe, that was...
been cleaned. Yeah. Anything else for drainage?
There will be one, I just have to ask a few questions on one project that I received an email from Ben, but, I'll wait until after you guys
Okay.
have adjourned the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
Okay?
I do have an update. You questioned on, this would be, Kim and I double-checked on the work order and the location. It's the, actually DD2, Cornet Township. Doug Marshall was repairing some banks.
Yeah.
And wondered about that. And so the bank repair was done. Got the rip-rap type stuff shored in and fixed up the banks. And so he said he'd be submitting his invoice on that. The cost was decent. I remember we gave him a ceiling.
Yeah.
So he's fine there. In doing that, there is, of course, a little bit of sediment in the bottom of the ditch. It's not really impeding the flow. He had talked with the farmer, the farms on either side of that. He said, it's not really bothering, but he said, if you throw that stuff out, how long does it take it to dry? And I said, well, that's a pond. Can you wait on that? And he said, yeah, it's not that bad. So he's gonna get his bill in for the bank repair, may go back as early as this fall and just do a little spot cleaning in that same area from the fluff offs.
it's over in Iowa, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Over that area?
Yep, yep. And so the repair is done successfully, and he just wanted to say that cleaning, the spot cleaning in those spots isn't that bad, but he may go back this fall, and, you know, probably should be addressed, but it's not worth screwing up the guys farming, because it's not that bad, so.
One other thing, I think Rick Peterson mentioned to Kim, up on DD 18, you know, we cleaned pretty much all of that, it's all looking really good, except the one leg that heads south. Have you looked at that? Because he mentioned he thought maybe he might as well clean it while he's there.
Yes, that was their plan. They knew they wouldn't get to it last year, physically last year. Yeah, there's one and a partial little spur.
Yeah, it comes down and then it hits the branch.
Yeah,
And
Branch, Bill Nielsen.
Yes, and that, yes, their intention is to clean that.
Okay, good.
Their intention is to clean that because they found that as they worked their way up that whole main ditch, they found a lot of other similar spur ditches that were worse than the main ditch. So they said, and I said that would make a lot of sense while you're finishing it up and cleaning it up, so, yes, they will be cleaning that
Rick
out.
came across here and cleaned this whole section out, but he did not do this portion there, that branch E.
Yeah, that's a small section, you might as well get her done.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did look at it, and they said it does need it, so they're gonna do it.
Good enough.
Okay. I'll get that phone number ready for you.
That's it, I'll make a motion to go out of drainage.
Second.
We got a first item to go out of drainage, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we're back in regular session. We'll
You wanna
get,
jump back to Ben to get him
I think we will, when Trish gets back in here. That she has to write down anyway.
he's just gonna give,
Yeah. Ben, do you wanna go ahead, 'cause this is nothing she's gonna write down anyway.
Yeah,
It's
that's fine.
information for the public.
So possibly Wednesday, more than likely Thursday, we will start milling on P-29. Paving is expected to start roughly a week after that. The plan is to do P-29, then the Pioneer Loop, then Cox Park, then drag strip, then up on, the work up on P-20, by Livermore. The bridge that is closed on Quebec Avenue right now is hopefully gonna be open again today. We've got all the boards placed and a single screw lagging the board down, holding it in place over the weekend. And we're in the process of basically pre-drilling holes and putting our lag screws in on every board, running through everything. The guys are hopeful that they can get 3 or 4 drills going and have it done by the end of the day. Other than that, we're working on, section corners for the 9 miles that we added up on the Bode Road. Those weren't part of the original construction plan. We didn't do that last fall. Dave and I are up working on that. You guys are trying to finish up Mullen Rock. Hopefully this week we're close. We're up to.
Ben, when they do that milling, do they, say, start at Highway 3, do they do a couple of miles and then go back, and, or did they do a whole stretch?
Each contractor does things differently. My guess is they probably work in whole mile chunks. So they work from 3 down to the high school blacktop, and then maybe go from high school to Chandler, that 2-mile stretch. And then the next 2 miles down to C-49, and then that last mile south of C-49. And try and work in whole 1-mile stretches. It will still be open to the traveling.
Still just be flagged?
It'll just be flaggers, slowing down traffic and directing them 1 lane at a time. Same thing will happen with paving. When paving, it will be closed to through traffic, but you can still get through. You're just gonna have to wait for the pilot car to get through.
Well, I'm just thinking with the milling, some of the wider, hopefully by then the planters will be done, trying to get a planter down with field cultivators, if they can avoid that.
They might have to go around the
If
section
they
or
can
two.
avoid the area, obviously that'd be best, but, for those that have a farm.
Have a farm on it, we don't have choice.
There, we still gotta try and let the guys through.
Right.
They've got a job to do, just
Yeah.
like we do.
It'd be best for the people just to visit with the guys working there.
Yep.
Ask them when's a good time to get through.
And you'll keep us updated on Facebook and...
As
You post that stuff,
construction
good.
is going, we'll be posting on Facebook. I plan on getting up there
Website.
today and getting a picture of the bridge, notifying officially when that's gonna be open back up.
Dean's Bridge.
You know, Dean would almost prefer it to stay closed, because he's got no traffic on his road. Dave looked at a few driveways from a request that we had last fall, where the owner wanted to construct large white driveways, had like 15 of them. There's about 5 of them, we have to send them a letter for not whitening the property. Just letting you guys know that we'll probably hear heat from him on that.
Give him a phone call or two.
Yep.
As they didn't use the proper piping or what?
didn't use proper piping, or they did dry fill without any piping.
Oh, okay. All right,
We appreciate it.
anything else for Ben?
Well, would you, I mentioned this just because of, we're eventually getting to that project as we Livermore. But you know what?
You and I need to meet at Livermore so we can see what
Yeah.
spots you're talking about.
And, but how approximately, when will they get there? I know that's like last of their projects, not this week.
Memorial Day, so we're probably a month out from when you're gonna see
That they get there, because
demo.
that's their last, as you just explained, that's the last on their schedule.
Right, and I met with Gary Jensen, he's hopeful to get that shoulder tile installed next week.
Oh, good.
Or the week after.
Very good.
Got it on
And,
camera.
So, why don't we just talk prior to them getting there, next couple of weeks, not this week.
Yeah, it's
Not this
31st.
week, maybe next. Okay, good, thanks, Ben.
You're looking into securing more boards for decking?
Yeah, so we had a mix of 3-inch and 4-inch boards. We started with 4-inch boards, and we got between half and 2/3 of the way down the bridge. We were gonna transition down to the 3-inch boards and, you know, just basically use, scrap boards to taper down. But we were still gonna be short, so I started calling around to these different counties to see who had any. Nobody did. I finally got a hold of Steve Whiteman, a contractor that we use quite frequently over in Dow's, and he said, yeah, he's got a pile of them. He said the nails haven't been pulled or anything, it's just whatever they haul back to the shop, they dump out of the side dump, and that's the pile. He said, you're welcome to them. He said, I'll sell them to you for half the price new, because they are used boards, you know, and so our guys went over Thursday, and they picked up about 850 foot of planking, which was enough for us to finish that. We still have a pile of 3-inch boards, so we've got boards to take care of maintenance projects. We weren't expecting to have to redeck the entire bridge when we opened it up and started looking at it, obviously. Otherwise, we would have had material on hand prior to. But,
Did you provide them construction to take 4-inch boards?
those were 4-inch boards, yeah.
So it's all 4-inch?
Yeah, so it's all 4-inch.
Very good.
When we open it, it will be a rough crossing, you know what I mean, because all 4-inch boards aren't exactly 4-inch.
Yeah, 'cause we're not covering it with rock.
We're not gonna cover it with rock. I am gonna look into possibly putting a skim coat of asphalt on it, which should be a sealant for the boards as well as a smoother ride for the traveling public. But Blacktop's not pumping out any asphalt right now. So when they actually fire the piece up here, is when I'll look at it. Putting a skim coat on it, basically. Smooth everything out.
Well, that would cut my Dean.
Yeah, it should slow the traffic down in front of Dean's house. And then he's getting his black.
And then he's getting his
Yeah, he's getting his
blacktop, too.
Just probably not quite as much as the other one.
Well, but we are always looking for the timbers, like Dave asked, when we have an ability to get stuff, because we're always basically
Very high
looking.
demand from what
Right.
I've been told.
That's what I heard too.
When they go on auction, farmers are clamoring for them because they use them to keep cattle in.
Yeah.
You know, that and old guardrail. When you've got old
Yeah.
guardrail, I mean, it's worth its weight in gold right now.
Yeah.
Or plywood or...
Worth its weight in plywood.
$8 2x4s and $50 sheet.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, we appreciate it very much.
Nails, worth your time, worth your time these
Yeah,
days.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's move down to approve carryover of unused balance of flex plan in accordance with the Consolidated Appropriation Act of 2021.
You should have a copy of this also in your packet. Vernon with, secure benefits brought this to our attention, that, you can have a carryover of unspent, flex plan money due to the COVID. And we have 2 employees, that have not fully spent what they had. There's one, I mean, they're under $500, but still that's a lot of money. Because, and they're doing it because people weren't going to the doctor, weren't going out and doing extra, just for necessities. So I just need a approval to do that.
Well, I'll make that motion to approve the carryover.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, approve resolution 2021-8 on the resolution of American Rescue Plan Fund creation.
Okay, as you know, the COVID money's still coming. This amount is listed in here as $1,853,715. That's our proposed amount. So we need a fund for in which it goes into. It has to be very specific, because we'll have to do reporting on it, and if we don't track it appropriately, they'll take it away from us. So, this is just a means to keep it singled out from everything.
Segregated from the rest of the budget.
Mhm.
And then once they give the guidelines as to how and where you can spend it, then
Then we
we'll
can,
track it from that time to where it goes and,
hopefully we find that out.
yeah.
I think their ISAC is gonna be sending something out to help understand that soon.
There's like 2 years to use it, right?
What total was
What's the
it?
number again?
$1,853,715.
That's available, that doesn't mean you're gonna get it.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of proposed, but,
Yeah,
We're in the same ballpark, I think, right? County was right around 2 million.
Webster was 6 million something.
yeah.
It's based on population, I do believe.
Yeah.
And everybody is in the same boat, all the auditors and everything else are waiting to hear
How to process this whole...
how to process it, what we can use it for. It's kind of frustrating.
They did that with the CARES money too, I know, on the mental health part. We had to wait, I think it was 6 months before we heard exactly what we could use it for. I don't know why they don't have it all figured out ahead.
That's because it's the federal government.
Yeah, they just said, oh, it'll be great, let's dump a bunch of money out there, but...
Then we'll see what we can do with it.
Yeah, look out later.
So this is just basically,
Never have a plan to pay it back.
this is just basically creating the fund to put whatever.
Yeah, so when we do get money, it goes into this fund so we know, so they can follow it.
It'll be a separate ledger item.
Right.
Basically is what it is, it's just a ledger
Yeah.
item.
Bookkeeping.
I would certainly make the motion to create the fund for said money when it comes in.
I'll second that.
We have a first and a second, any more discussion on this interesting topic? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Start with you.
Okay, approve fiscal year 22 contract amendment from the Iowa DOT of Human Services.
That is, crack it out, folks, and, did you get that? I'm not quite sure what they have changed. Find anything from previous.
says to ask your county attorney to review these, so has John been, you sent this stuff up to John?
No, I will afterward.
Well, I guess it seems we're bulked in with the counties that are involved with this. Webster, Hamilton, Humboldt, Pocahontas, and Wright County, Calhoun. I guess we either approve it, or they'll leave us out, so I'll make a motion to approve the FY 22 contract amendment with Iowa Department of Human Services.
I would second Bruce's motion.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Making sure that John looks that over and gives his stamp, please.
I see they want the county attorney to even sign it. So, okay. All right.
Must be getting to the golf season if the record license is due for the country club.
I mean, golf season.
Let you fill in the rest.
There's one more.
Oh, another one?
We have to have two. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, now we have approved Class C liquor license for outdoor services and Sunday sales at the Humboldt Country.
I do not have a copy of that.
Do they have their insurance and everything provided?
Yes,
Everything's good.
yes.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any more comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Looks like we're down to committee reports.
Okay. I guess it's the right week. Tuesday, I had a conference call for the financial meeting on, Udmo. Wednesday, conference call on the ministerial board. Friday is on a juvenile detention down in Eldora. I think that was it for my week, yeah.
Ministerial, was that Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay. Tuesday, we had a, lengthy kitty cat, board meeting. Our director has resigned, so I don't know if anybody saw it, but there was a ad in there for a new director, and her last day was last Friday. So we're on the search for, a director. They're gonna be talking to a couple of in-house people, of course, but, we wanted to get it out there just in case none of them were interested in it. And then Wednesday, the 21st, I had a CSS, HR, Zoom meeting in the morning. And then in the afternoon, there was an ISAC, Certified Supervisors, meeting, to discuss about, the certification and, what the EUs are required and how you can get it and things like that. And then, Wednesday late afternoon, I got a call from Dawn with Rolling Hills because she was gonna start the interview process for our, service coordinator on Thursday. And they had 5 candidates, and, so she was just kinda going over the process, who was gonna be interviewing and how that was gonna go. And then the 22nd, I was supposed to have an ISAC, education committee, but it was rescheduled. And then I also got a call from Paul Martins, who is the CEO of Rolling Hills. I think he's the Buena Vista, supervisor there. They had, one person did not show up for the interview. The interviews went really well. They were gonna start doing, references and then make an offer on Friday to the, top candidate. And, yeah, so that's all I had.
Okay, Wednesday, the 21st, at a housing meeting. We met down on 9th Street North to the, Buildings Trades House, and, we toured that. It's gonna be a really nice little...
They've done a nice job on that, looks
They've
nice.
done a beautiful job on the inside and out. Garage, it looks nice. I didn't make the conservation meeting, I was going to, but something else come up. Then on Friday morning, we had a Board of Health meeting. That'll be on the 23rd. No. Gal from Pocahontas brought over the new sanitarian and introduced him. They requested that he show up to part of the meetings and send a report to them so they know what's going on in the county. That's all I had.
Speaking of that, Dave, I've also had a request, someone would like to see that number published so that they can get a hold of him. There was a person that was trying to put a septic system in. Didn't really know how to get a hold of the person, so I told him we'd try to get the number for, and maybe put it on our website as well, but how we, just contact information for him.
We asked them about that, and they will be getting us a number.
Okay.
But wouldn't put out a private number yet. But we wanted a number or two to be able to call them and direct without going through the Pocahontas office.
So that's the best way to call
Pocahontas office, the courthouse, and talk to that gal that brought him over.
Yeah, Dan Thompson.
Yep.
Didn't, we get an email with his contact information?
I thought we did.
But that was for just the, I think, the board, I don't think.
I don't- yeah, I don't-
It was
Oh, that
for
was
public.
for public?
Yeah.
You did see that, yeah. Two separate.
Yeah, I just said. Okay.
The afternoon, that gets published.
Yeah,
So that
we'll try to get it out so we can get a number from them. But she informed us they wasn't ready to put out a number yet.
I didn't have any, was it,
That's it.
any actually official meetings? We had a brief meeting last Monday of the 911 Service Board Executive Committee, but not any official meetings last week. That's all I had.
I had my monthly landfill meeting down in Fort Dodge, and then Wednesday afternoon, that was on Tuesday.
Okay.
And Wednesday afternoon, I went to the same meeting with Dave, looked at the house, building trades house, and, we talked about future projects for the building trades. I think they like this rehabbing houses. I think it's a great benefit for the community to, clean up a project in town.
Sure looks nice when you drive past the
And
town.
I think the kids doing the project enjoyed it. They learn a lot.
Knocked out some walls and added walls and redone the stairs, so it goes part way up and turns and goes the rest of the way up. used to come down the middle of a bedroom, and we don't do that anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, they completely gutted it out and redid the whole inside,
Wow.
so.
Well, a lot of people do that, so that'd be good training for them.
Yeah, it is. They'll get exposed to a lot of stuff that way. Versus building a new house, there's a lot of things they stand and watch being done. That's why they get more hands-on. So, anyway, that's the two meetings I had.
That was like the house that was down on, across from Hy-Vee. They was gonna put a spec house in there. And that didn't fly because they went down 4 feet and it's solid rock. So, that's a lot and a half, I think they said. They're looking at probably putting a duplex in there, but they don't know for sure. And they're looking for another, house for the building straight to start next year.
Okay, that's one of that, I'm Kenny Carter.
Yeah. You don't have to go very
I
deep.
thought after I moved away from our rented farm in high school, I'd be done ripping up rock, but that ain't happened. It's like every place I lived, that damn old line was growing up and faster than weeds or flowers, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty,
Yep. Yeah, you dig in Humboldt, you find limestone pretty close to the surface quite often.
Don't have to go too far down.
No, sure don't. We have a meeting with Cindy Allen later on at 10. I think, would you like to go on recess?
Is there any way they can do that sooner?
No, they're driving up from,
Or just they're gonna physically be here?
she's physically gonna be here. He had to leave at 6 this morning to get up here.
Bruce, did you come up with the conservation board at 5:30 on Wednesday?
well, that was what Todd
No,
was,
Todd was,
Todd
I
was
mean, I had it broke down,
leaving it at 5,
where is that gonna be held?
over to conservation.
Over just a couple blocks over.
I mean, who knows, that's a week away, I couldn't tell you, but I'm gonna make sure to put down, you came up with 5:30 though, 'cause I had a question mark on the
I
time.
did go to their meeting last week, and Pete said he couldn't be there that day, and then they were talking about, maybe that you guys would be agreeable to doing it on the 12th, but they kinda left it, that Todd would get a hold of you guys and see when
Yeah.
it works, so.
Okay.
That could have been the 12th, too.
They kinda wanted to see if they could get everybody from their board and everybody from your board at the same time, but.
Yeah. Todd was in here this morning, and that's the day he picked out that he wants us to do it, so I think that's what we're gonna shoot for.
Will we go into recess and wait till 10, or?
Yeah, I think so. I guess
Where's it coming
Denise,
from?
Denise Bell was
Denise
coming, I
is
said that was
coming.
Cindy that was coming, but I see it says Denise.
Denise and Cindy.
Oh, they're both coming, okay.
Anything else, an auditor, that'd be a good time to look at any extracurricular stuff.
I did put in your packet on the phone system.
Oh,
I had Pete Henricks from Midwest Technology Service looking at the server, and he came up Friday, sorry, and, 'cause he's from Brattinger, and he was suggested by Solutions, so he did look at recabling. It would all have to be recabled to move the entire thing down to the lower level. However, he said there's a possibility that you can move the majority of it downstairs and then have a small wall cabinet where, like, what did he call them, the switches and...
The total, POEs are and stuff.
Yeah. I did patch panel, what he called it, I guess. It's kind of a
Okay.
small thing. And he said, and I asked about home system too, because I said, I didn't know he did homes. But he was telling me that, and so we went over that, and he said the voice over IP that everybody seems to be going with, which is like the new technology, apparently. And he says, you know, I'm not gonna push it or anything. He says digital is most cost-effective. He has had less problems with that, less service calls. And, he said, if you go with the voice over IP, you'd have to recable everything. Recable.
I think that digital will be just fine, and it's more reliable from what you use.
Yeah, I mean, there's less advantages to it. I mean, the voice over IP, you can physically take your phone home with you, and the number and everything goes with you if you happen to be working from home. Hopefully we'll never have that problem again. And, I don't know, the information is what he sent. He said he has both his digital and over IP. He said if we want to schedule a time, he can come and speak with you all and give you his input on it. And he's still working on a cost, an estimate of moving the server's information and all that.
I think once we have the cost and the estimate, it might be then come in and line up a time.
Yeah, there's no sense in the dark, we don't know what it's gonna cost.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then we can inform us, update us on both.
Well, that was
That
the
time.
thing Peggy was most worried about, was the system. Trying to figure out what point you, I don't know much about the computer part, or whether technology is gonna change a lot in the next week versus the next 5 years.
Right.
If I bought something, it would be outdated tomorrow. But, I mean, that's the scary part, is to invest a bunch of money in something and not knowing
What,
how fast
Then it
something
isn't
can be
compatible
outdated.
with something
Yeah.
coming down the road in the near future.
I just like to think that whatever we get, we're going to take care of the problem and kick that can, 'cause it's not cheap.
and I think that's where the digital is kind of, the older technology. And I think that's why a lot of the counties have gone with the voice over IP. I know Wright does. He said Cherokee, Clay, Worth, they have voice over IP. Emmett County has digital. So in order for him to give us a quote on either one of those, as far as the phone system, physical phones, we need to come up with the amount of phones we need that we currently have. And that kind of depends on who all we want to be included on this system. I know, the clerk of courts had expressed their desire to be on our same system. And she said when we come to that point, she'd like to talk to us.
Do we pay for their phones, or do they pay for their own?
They pay for that.
They pay for their own, okay.
Well, they're now, the system that we have now, oh, I didn't realize
So we
that.
can't transfer calls, we have to have them
Called over.
And, like our intercom system goes through our phones. So in the event of an emergency, there's a gap there. So it's just, there's a lot of different variables, and I think that Pete will put together something to explain all of them.
How soon are we under the gun on any of this particularly?
So,
No, our phones work.
Everything works, and this is the same outfit that you had discussion of moving the servers.
correct.
So, server moving phones.
Yep, and the server, the phones came up because we were talking about the patch panel or whatever it is there, and he said that, oh, well, with this, you don't have to do this, and he was explaining different things, and I didn't know how they all integrated, so.
Can we get him enough information prior to physically at a presentation with the, like you said, number of phones, approximate?
So he can give us somewhat accurate.
So he can get a, when he comes to explain the, logistics and the technicalities, also the money side of it, the options of...
You don't want this big of variation from this point to this point, maybe they'll make it a little closer to...
Right.
So you compare-
So if there's something you can work with him, and if he needs some information, like I said, I'm just simply saying number of phones and other, entities and whatnot.
Because I'm sure he's got a physical look through the building and go, wow, if you gotta pull new cables through the whole building, I'm sure that's gonna be expensive.
So we have...
And he did look, yes.
Oh, he did look.
Last week.
Okay.
If he can get some, not just the information, but the quotes, that would make more sense to then have them come and explain all that to us. We know what we're working with or up against.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should start out with each office, to let, how many they have. Know that this is the number we're looking at, then he can give us that when he comes. I agree.
So, I mean, doesn't need to be next week, but sometime in the relatively near future, because I have a feeling it's gonna take some...
Time on his end.
Yeah, and then, I don't know, once we decide, and installation time, and is it gonna be, you know, next year's fiscal year budget, or where we at?
I like, well, we never put anything in our budget.
Right, so we need to kinda know what we're working with, and then we kinda need to know the timeline as far as, you know, when it would actually take place, so, but, I mean, now's a good time to know that, so we have the information, and then we can...
We roll around until budget time, we know what it could cost.
Yeah, and it, yeah, so...
And who to include.
Yeah, so I mean, now's a great time to work on the particulars.
Yeah.
So we can get a more accurate
And
idea.
the server, that's important.
So you guys don't think a payphone would be a good deal in your office?
No. He'd have to put a washer on.
I don't even know, half people don't even know what payphone is.
I think we still have one upstairs.
Seriously? Does it work?
Just across from the court, isn't it?
That's the only one I ever know of anywhere now. But,
If you can, you know, if there's anything he needs, on information, and easy work to put together, because, yeah, I don't want to come to say how great everything is, we want to know what our options are, and what the bottom dollar would be.
and it's, you know, we have changes coming up in office spaces and stuff, so that's,
Yeah.
I don't know how to work around that yet, so we'll see where.
And I'm sure down the road, if you have a change in office space, if we're changing the closet into an office, they can pull in a cable, hook up a phone if they need to, add-ons.
He did say that some of the cables coming into our server are...
Ancient?
Yeah, they should be updated.
I noticed when you go down there in the basement, you see wires just running everywhere.
I was surprised when we were down there, all the wires in there.
And some of them, yeah, like you said, they should be updated. That comes with that big cost.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You know, when you hate to spend too much money too.
Yeah. All right, should we take a short recess, or is there anything else we can discuss?
Somebody just showed up in the hallway, but I'm not...
They did it, I think they went back down that way.
Son of a gun. I don't know if that's the people we're looking for or not.
There's two gals, yeah.
Oh, maybe it's them. Great.
Yeah.
Whenever you can get stuff a little more precise,
Yeah, 'cause he just,
we'd be happy to have him come and give us a run-through on it.
Probably do it earlier, towards first part of summer, so we don't have
Or just let
people skipping out for vacation.
So
If we get done this year.
Don't start right here, that's the point.
well,
No, it's 14,
This is...
No, I think this is the right way, they just think,
wrong time.
501.
yeah, I think they thought
Okay.
that if you look at it this way, it goes better than if you would go like this, that's my guess.
Run me a copy of that off, I thought maybe...
Put the staple in the other side.
I know.
That's what you're looking at.
Copy, so that we have it on our, maybe we can make...
I'll turn it over this way.
And that way...
There you go.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
I have a copy of their 501c nonprofit, so they had a copy of it, and I said, we'll take it. We'll put that in a...
same place?
We'll put it in a... No, they said they would do that,
Okay, great.
give us a copy of it, so... Was that them?
Yes, they're here, they just had a long drive, so they're in the facilities.
Thank you for one more thing.
Oh.
Rebecca Jensen was out doing her walk, and she noticed that
Good morning.
the handicapped accessible sign that's over there, it's not even readable at this point. So I am looking into the prison industries on getting something to replace that.
Maybe check with Ben and see,
Who he uses?
so he gets his sign from, he might have the ability to,
Quicker,
he might have something
cheaper. Good morning.
on hand.
Okay.
I thought you guys were bringing donuts.
Oh.
Long drive for that.
I thought homemade.
New wellness.
Oh, that's a good out. That's a good out. Sounds like I'm at home, I'm getting shamed about, can I have a second helping?
Well, we're ready for
Are
you.
you?
Yeah, if you'd like to
All right.
start. You are done with everything else?
All righty.
At least it wasn't foggy or icy or snowy.
Great paper drive.
It snowed yesterday.
Well, I saw that, Marge Pittsburgh, Spencer posted on Facebook that it was snowing there.
I was looking out the window and I'm riding my bike and I thought,
Is that
oh,
what
it is snow.
No, it's unbelievable. And you're right? That's right.
Well, I have my
Indoor.
indoor bike, I'm
Oh,
just sitting in there pedaling, I thought, this looks like it's starting to rain. No, that's white.
I was in Sydney, Iowa for a rodeo yesterday, well, all weekend, and it was so windy. You know, so I was like, I hope that's blowing in, you know, nice, warm weather, but it was cold, and windy.
Thank you.
Good.
So is this good news?
I think so. I always bring good news.
Yeah.
Generally, I got one extra. Well, I see some new faces, I think, maybe? Yep, so, I'm Denise Ballard, I'm with IGHCP, also with me is Cindy Allen. Do you mind if I take my mask down so you can hear me? Okay, so, what we have for you today is I'd like to spend just a couple of minutes going over a little bit of trust level information, so understanding how the trust IGHCP is performing, and then we'll quickly get into Humboldt County's information and talk about rate setting and all that good stuff. So on page 2, you'll see that IGHCP is up to 36 entities participating in the 28E agreement. That's 35 other cities and counties like you that are joint purchasing health insurance. And actually, since I printed these, we've gotten commitment from the city of Lamar's is joining us on July 1st. And we just added the city of Grimes. We actually onboarded them last week. So, 38 entities. And just under 10, we're definitely over 10,000 members now, so pretty exciting. All groups are providing some level of partial self-funding, just like you guys are, buying a higher deductible and out-of-pocket from the insurance carrier, and then providing the benefits to the employees at lower levels. We do that because it saves us money. I mean, it does add an extra layer of cost, but it costs less to buy those higher levels from Walmart, and then you take that premium savings and set it aside to pay those little claims. Because of our size and the administration that we do for Wellmark, we actually receive about an 8 to 9% administrative discount on the Wellmark product, which is very important because if you look at your overall premium makeup, by far the biggest number that is in that premium makeup goes to Wellmark. So if there's one area of your cost that we want to control, it's that area, because it's such a big number. So we do receive a pretty significant discount from Walmart by virtue of our administration. Okay? On page 3, then talks about the healthiness of the trust and how we've performed over the years. Of course, you guys have been with us from day one, so you were one of the original 8 groups that started IGHCP. In 2005. 2006 was our first renewal, and you can see that at the top of the page. The reason for this report is to show you how IGHCP has performed year over year compared to what this trend has been in the state of Iowa relative to premium increases and what Wellmark has delivered to us. So just because Wellmark delivers renewal doesn't mean that's where we end. And that's important because, again, it's our job to control that rate of growth. As much as we don't like our premiums today, we're going to like them even less, 2 to 3 years from now. So really try to stop those large increases from happening. And this page shows how we've done that. So you can follow along there from 2006 all the way down to 21. Because I don't have everybody's renewals final, I don't have that 7/21 populated with the IGHCP average. But for 2020, the average increase that IGHCP has taken year over year from 2006 through 2020 is 2.9%, so under 3%. Significantly better than what the rest of the market has seen. The trend in that same time, the trend through 2021 has been 7.85, and while we took a 2.9% rate increase in each of those years, year over year, what was delivered to us was 7.08. Okay, this is the last page that I'll review relative to the trust. This shows the claims and premium by month. So through 2020, we had 3,574 employees covered under the plan, and just under 9,000 members. So the reason these numbers differ from that first page is because we've had business that's come on. We've had business that's come on since this report. But our claims were right at $44,370,000, and our premium was almost $49 million to create a 90.62% loss ratio, which is right in our target range. We want to be between 80 and 83%. That really gives us the most leverage when it comes to negotiating renewal with Wellmark. Okay, next is a savings analysis. This is for Humboldt County, so this just shows what's happened with your costs since the day you joined us through your last renewal. So, looking at the top of the page, the savings upon entry, so that's what happened when you joined IGHCP. So, prior to coming into IGHCP, comparing those costs to your IGHCP, you took a 0.40% rate increase. The average increase in your insured premium is only 3.14%. So that's big because that's premium that leaves Humboldt County and goes to Des Moines. You get no refunds when you have good years. That's actual hard dollars. The average increase in your partial self-fund is just 1.19%, excuse me. And the average increase in your total cost year over year since 2005 has been 3.25% year over year. So pretty low renewal average since 2005. And your partial self-fund reserve through 2020 was $246,647. And you have your current, I have your report that goes through February. I think you probably just got March. I saw those came out at the tail end of last week. But through February, your reserve balance is $177,343. Okay? Your claims to premiums by month, you have 71 employees that have participated in your plan for the 2020 calendar year. When you add their dependents and spouses, you had 183 members on the plan. Your premium is $1.1 million, almost 1.2, and so is your claim. You actually have a 100% loss ratio. You probably couldn't do that again if you tried. So essentially, you paid the same amount in premium as Wellmark paid in claims. Okay, so remember I said I really want to see between that 90 and 93% loss ratio, so you guys are running a little high. So this page on page 6, that describes your Wellmark claim that 1.181 is your Wellmark claims. To really get a full picture of your claims, you have to add the PSF claims paid at $98,466, 4 lines down. That's how much we paid in the self-funded portion of your plan. So the plan that falls, the claims that fall between the Wellmark plan and the employee plan is what you pay. and that through February is $98,466. You've given us $28,844, in that same time period, so the under, that $69,000 number, we've taken from your reserve to pay your claims. So you can see over the last 5 years, what we've been doing is just eroding that reserve, because that reserve got pretty high, so we just wanted to bring that down, which is exactly our intention. That's why we build reserve, is so that we can leverage that reserve and offset future costs. So your plan's running well, your partial self-fund reserve is being managed well, so you're in good shape.
Is there self-funding kind of where we want it now?
It is,
I mean, is it adequate, put it that way?
I mean, you could probably go another year or two, and then you're gonna wanna start building that back up. So to offset that, what we could do is just, do a little bit. I'm gonna annualize this real quick here. Yeah, I mean, if you don't do anything, if you keep your plan just as you have it today, you're probably going to take another $100,000 out of that. So,
What's the number that you get nervous when it gets to a certain point?
we like to see, I'd like to see you keep around the minimum 70,000 or so in there, 70, 75,000, that's about 6 months of your average claims utilization. That allows us to, avoid those peaks in insurance increases, because if we don't have money to leverage, then what happens is if Wellmark delivers a 5% renewal, and we also have to increase your partial self-fund, you might end up with a 7% renewal when the rest of the trust is taking 5, because you have to also increase your partial self-funding. Now, the last several years, you guys have enjoyed the opposite of that, where, you've taken some zeros, I think, and so, yeah, you had 2 years in a row of zeros. Last year, you took an 8. So if you look on page 5, you'll see the column that's in gray, highlight there, the second slide. That shows what renewals you've taken. So that you start at the bottom, your average is 3.25. So last year you were 8, 4, 2.37. So if you compare that to the change in Wellmark premium, so that's over the left 2 columns, that's what the increase was from Wellmark versus what you've actually taken. So last year we got a 9.89, but you took an 8. The year before was 7.52, but you took a 4. So the reason you were able to do that is because we were leveraging that partial self-reserve to try to get that down, because it got a little high.
Yeah.
And I don't think your intent was to, build that to $300,000 to $400,000. So, go ahead.
The current, you said, was 177, and you want it, you don't want it to get any lower than 70 to 75. So we have about 100,000 then that you can,
Yeah.
if you want to.
I myself feel a little more comfortable with that 100,000 range, but
I was thinking that
I don't like to be
75, that's kind of low, if you're saying that's the min.
That's bare bones.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's kind of,
I'd rather have 100 and take a little hit
yeah.
that way than...
What did you guys
I agree.
budget this year for your renewal?
I think 5.5 or somewhere in there. I don't remember, but I'm thinking it was 5.
At least 5.
Because if you renew as is, I've got you coming in at about 5.38. So if you budgeted 5.5, we could take 5.5, and that, I mean, that's gonna just be a few bucks, but it would be a few bucks that you could put in your partial self-fund.
I think, for some reason, I think 5.5.
We'll talk about that in the next couple of pages. So looking at page 8, these are your large claimants. So you do have some pretty big claims going on right now, especially that top one. You know, you're pushing $500,000 on that individual. So what this page describes is any diagnosis by one person where that diagnosis has incurred paid claims over $10,000. So those are the claims that we track, and, you know, medical management gets involved. So, and we watch those because those risks generally roll into your following year. So, just so you can understand this report for those that, you know, are newer, if you follow 4 columns in, you see in the blue ribbon there, it says REL. That stands for relationship, REL, 4 columns in, and then you'll see S's or E's or D's. S means it's a spouse of an employee of Humboldt County, an E would be an employee of Humboldt County, and a D would be a dependent of an employee. And then we're also going to share with you the reporting age band, and whether the employee is still covered under your plan or not. So if it says active, they're still actively covered under the plan. If it has a cancel, they're no longer covered under your plan. And then it shows the amount of claims paid and that is covered. So, obviously, you know, you have a big advantage of being in the trust because you're not absorbing this risk by yourself. The whole trust absorbs your risk, you know, on your own. Obviously, I wouldn't be delivering a 5.5% rate increase. We would probably be looking closer to, you know, 18-19%. So, you know, this is a year where the trust has really helped you. You've had
It's a benefit to it this year, and sometimes it's a
You've had
cost.
many years where, yeah, you helped other groups, so that's the whole idea behind the 2080. The next page is your receipts and disbursements report for your last plan year, the plan year that ran July of 19 through June of 20. This just shows the activity that was created by virtue of our consolidated billing. So the top section there where it says receipts, that's what we collected from Humboldt County via the consolidated billing. And then the bottom section, the disbursement, what we do with that money. So, the line item that I watch most closely is PSF claims funding, which is almost the center of the page, just over, or just above the center of the page where it says PSF claims funding. That's around $4,000, almost $5,000 a month. That's what you guys pay us in new dollars for your claims activity. Okay, so then if you look below that where it says PSF claims process, you know, and let's just look at July there. So in the top section of funding, you provided us $4,674, but we processed almost $16,000 of claims. So the difference we took out of your partial self-fund. You'll see there's months there where you paid us more than what we processed. In those months, your new money that you paid us each month was enough to cover your claims activity. And then your claims account balance was on the bottom there, and again, that's just through June of 20. On page 10, describes your medical benefits as they are for your upcoming plan year if we don't make any changes. So the gray highlight indicates that's the area of your plan where we're partially self-funding. So your employees have a $750 deductible, the families have a $1,500, that's their deductible. But the deductible we're buying from Walmart in the gray is $5,000 a single and $10,000 a family. The employees have a 90-10 co-insurance, which means the insurance pays 90% and the employees pay 10%. So after they hit their deductible of $750, they pay 10% of remaining charges. Until they get to their out-of-pocket maximum, which you can see is $1,500 a single and $3,000 a family. The out-of-pocket we're purchasing, however, is $7,350, $14,700. Going forward, we are going to keep the doctors on demand telemedicine benefit at a zero cost to your employees. During the pandemic, the insurance carriers were mandated to make that a $0. It was typically your doctor's office copay is what it costs to access the telemedicine. IGHCP had made a decision to have a $0 copay for telemedicine before COVID even hit. So, it was just kind of coincidence because we made that decision in February, and then COVID hit was 1 month later. So the rest of the state now, I think, has all pretty much gone back to copays. We're going to remain at 0 with no intention of changing that. Physician office visits for face-to-face are $10. And then the only other difference to your plan going forward is you did add those Tier 4 drugs back. So Rick, I think you were on that call. We had an IGHCP board meeting where we analyzed the disruption to the IGHCP trust by virtue of not having Tier 4 drugs available. We removed that tier of drugs from IGHCP back in 2016 because it had little disruption to the membership. Over time, those Tier 4 drugs have grown, and we've seen disruption through the membership, so I analyzed that with Wellmark's help to go back to the board and say, I really think we need to add those back. It was creating a lot of problems for the employees. They couldn't get access to the drugs that they needed. So we are adding those drugs back, and they'll be added back with a Tier 3 copay. So $0 cost to employees if they access generic drugs, no cost there. If they take a Tier 2 drug, there's a $50 copay, and Tiers 3 and 4 will both be $30. No change in your specialty order. Any questions on the current plan design? Okay. And next we'll talk about the renewal. So, just so everybody understands how this renewal is calculated, the top gold section, that's your current rate structure. So you can see that your total monthly costs are made up of several cost components. First being Wellmark's premium. Wellmark charges $687.82 for a single and $1,719.54 for a family. That's what Wellmark charges for their policy. We're adding to that the cost to pay the claim underneath that Wellmark plan. So we're adding $35.70 to every single contract and $55.20 to the families. After you add your fees and processing, then that gets to your total monthly cost of $743.85 and 18 cents or 7 as your single and family premiums. Multiplying those two premiums by the amount of people you have participating, that gives your total annual cost of that $1.3 million. Of the $1.3 million, $43,675 is what's going to your partial self-fund. That's what's going to be deposited into your reserve account. So if you're using at the rate of, about $120,000 a year, that difference is going to come out of your reserve.
Yeah, it's 80,000.
Yep. So then if you go down to the gray section of 2021, the only changes you'll notice comparing the gold to the gray is that we increased the Wellmark premium from that $687 above to the $726.90 because that's Wellmark's new premium beginning July of 2021. The new family premium goes from the $17.19 to the $18.17. All other cost components are the same, no changes in those, creates that 5.38% rate increase, and keeps that $43,675 going into your partial self-fund. So whether we do that this year or we do it, slowly over the next couple of years, I think what we want to focus on is increasing that $43,675 so we have more new money going into the plan so we don't cause so much erosion to your existing reserve account. budget, you know, if I have to stay at 5.5, that's not gonna give us much. There's not much difference there between where, you know, I came in at 5.38 versus the 5.5, it could be a few dollars. You know, if you find out you budgeted something more, I can refund this on it.
Okay, Trish looking that up right now.
I don't know what she wanted to do.
That would be nice to know all the news.
Hello,
And, we appreciate you being here in person, both of you,
Yes.
so that we can actually, would you say, given your explanation on, like 177 and where we're at on the partial self-funding, say it's 5.5, it's not much, I know, but it's a little more than static, the 5.38, you'd still be okay for,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the foreseeable future.
Yes, knowing that I can't predict your claims,
No,
obviously,
no.
but...
And I'm hoping, cautiously optimistic, they aren't as high as...
We'd appreciate it if you could.
If I could do that, I'd probably do something other than insurance.
I would not even...
I'd be like, at the casino,
You could
stock
casinos, a
market.
lottery ticket, whatever. I don't think I'd pick that number.
Cindy, can you make a note to the Supervisor trust account, so.
Well, Denise, and like I said, you know, I know we've all determined that none of us can predict the future, but to be cautiously optimistic, we had, the moving forward, the claims would be less, that would help, correct?
Yeah.
Because there are some big ones for the information.
Yeah.
Big. So if you take that, I just asked if we did put in 5.5, if we could just live with that for the foreseeable future. I know that's only incrementally over 5.38, but it's still, and we're not down to the bare minimum 75,000 yet on the partial self-funding, so.
Yeah.
It just,
I was thinking it was more that we had thought about 5.5 to 6.5, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I
Well, it's pretty easy to find.
Well, she's on an important phone call right
Oh,
now.
that's fine.
I couldn't have her as something important, she couldn't get off of it.
That's fine.
So, but I had Chris trying to look it up.
I just said to Denise when she was here physically,
It'd be nice to know.
Yeah, then we can,
Go from
know.
there.
Yeah, and if you budgeted 6 to 6.5, that would be...
Oh, sure, then you got more, but
Yeah.
I'd like to be, like I said, we can't predict it, but
Right.
under the impression that, kinda like the weather, you know?
Yeah, you don't know what's gonna
It gets
happen.
too dry, well, hopefully, with the huge claims in the past year, law of average hopefully will be less moving forward, which would cut out, eating up the partial self-funding. You know, being positive, we're gonna have less claims.
Well, you never know what's gonna happen.
I mean, when you look at the whole, group, some entities will be up to 200%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't wanna go, yeah, we're at 100, because there's some that are at 200%, and some are at 50%.
Right.
And
We'd average it out, but...
You're exactly right. And
we still pay on our own...
yes, you definitely...
We aren't getting an average of the group, we are...
Very much your own group.
So we're our own thing.
And keep in mind, just because your Walmart claims are high, doesn't mean your partial self-fund claims are high. In fact, it's usually one or the other. Right now, you guys are we're getting hit on both sides. We have lots of groups that have high Walmart claims, but they have very small partial self-fund claims, because in order for your partial self-fund to be running hot or running high, you need to have a whole bunch of people with small claims. Because for your Walmart plan, to say we don't care, but it doesn't impact you as much. You know, if you have a $500,000 claim, that impacts you less than having a whole bunch of $20,000 claims. Because Wellmark takes everything, you know, off the county, you know, once you, I don't know what their risk is per contract, but once, you know, it's probably around $10,000 or something like that. Once you spend that, Wellmark picks up the rest. So it's having all those claims that are below $10,000.
A lot of small ones,
Yeah.
hurt your self-funding more than the larger
So
ones.
you have had a lot of small ones this year.
Yeah, you look into, there's a lot of them that are, you know, under 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't this specific to Humboldt County? This page,
Yes, yes,
6?
yes.
I mean, so if it says, because I just questioned that, because it was group loss rate. I mean, it's just, went up, then it kind of backed off, and then up, so it's just, I don't know, I'm hoping that...
That was our monthly.
That was monthly, and then, while you look yearly too, it's kind of doing the same thing.
A lot of people will wait
Right,
till
I know,
the year to...
yeah, I guess I was looking monthly.
Just to make sure.
Right.
Well, you know, they
And that's
do,
why it's under.
they're more, their recuperation in the winter months.
So the thing is, for any single person that has your insurance, the most the county's gonna pay is $5,850. Anything above that, Wellmark pays us.
That's the...
Yeah, that's cut off. So you, when I say you've had a lot of little things, I mean you had a lot of little things. So, and there's always ebb and flow with that. So, it's, you know, it's likely that you're just having a high year and you'll come back to normal next year.
That's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the definition of insurance, right? I mean, that's why we
It
do it.
is, yeah, that's why you have insurance, to make the roller coaster not so steep and
Yep.
tight and get it more
So,
smooth.
I'm not at all, yeah, like, Rick said, I'm not at all nervous about your plan or your claims or anything, but helping us as a group, I think you're fine. But I do want to be cognizant of that reserve, because we don't want a year where you have to take a Walmart increase and a PSF increase in the same year.
And then it gets pretty high.
And then, yeah, we do everything we can to avoid double digits around here, so we don't want to do
Yeah.
that. So, you know, if what we find out is you budgeted 5.5, then we can stay within that, and I think we'll be okay. If you budgeted 6 or 6.5, then we can very easily and quickly turn this around and get you what your premium increase would be at that number, and what that will do to your partial self-fund. I mean, we can do that in the next couple of days. It doesn't take us anything to run that. We're off to Clay County after this, so we're gonna be on the road for a bit, but
Further north,
further north.
it could find snow.
They're gonna have a long drive.
Yep.
Obviously, if you put in 6.5 versus 5.5, it's gonna increase your partial self-funding.
Yeah, because 100% of that 1.5
Goes
goes,
into something.
So then that's gonna build back up, but we need to, you know, and there again, it takes a crystal ball, which nobody has. You need to find some kind of a happy medium to keep
yeah,
your increase as low as possible.
yeah. And you guys have done that for years. I mean, you really have. You've done a good job at, you typically renew under what the rest of the truck does.
But you have to remember, you know, since I've been tuned to this, you can look in the nice information they gave us, we had a huge self-funding balance. I remember Peggy saying, and probably through your, you know, recommendation, you could start utilizing this, it's way higher than even the safety net.
It was.
So, we gotta remember, part of the not too bad increase was eating up the self-funding. Now we're getting down, and I understand where, I know all Rick thinks on, don't get that to the safety net level. So, but we still need a happy medium.
Yes. And that's, you articulated that well. I mean, those you know, this reduction in reserve was done with intention.
Right, it was, but we have to be careful that we don't get
Too far.
Yeah.
hooked into that, but yet, we just, isn't it amazing that, you just, the insurance companies love the assumption it's going up every year.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you could assume
It's a constant.
everything else, it's just, they just, so every, whether it's your group or anybody other group or private, whatever.
When you don't have a whole lot of competition.
It's just, you know what, we're going up whatever amount.
Yep.
And, you know, I know it sometimes, and you've worked with us for years,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's low, but it always goes up.
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate, and we've had with an IGHCP some years where it was zero, but man, we're better.
No, it's terrible.
It is terrible. And honestly, that one sentence is the number one reason we started the program, this trust, was because we were driving, you know, you guys were our client before IGCP was created. So we were driving up here, we were driving all over the state, trying to manage your plans, trying to predict future costs. And it wasn't possible, because when you had a good claim year, the insurance company gave you no credit, none. You have a bad claims year, full credit. You have full credit for your bad years, and no credit for your good years. It was hyperinflation, we couldn't keep, it wasn't sustainable. I mean, I don't know where we'd be if we were still doing that, because you would
It is
like...
hyperinflation. The only benefit that you can do on the, you know, these other folks that are in this group, in your group, be the same as
Yes.
Humboldt County. If you have a low claims year, and you put it at whatever percentage increase, you know, we're talking 5 or 6 or so, whatever, you are helping yourself because your partial self-funding grows.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's your benefit.
That's
Because the insurance company, like you said, they don't give you any, if you have zero claims, they don't say, oh, gosh, we're low.
Say a real big thank you that year.
No, they don't, makes no difference, they're gonna come back the next year, but then, you know, with this type of a program, at least we have the flexibility.
Absolutely. And, you know, and the other things you guys have done over the years to manage your plan is, you know, because of that nice reserve balance that you built, we had years where we increased the out-of-pocket maximums at Wellmark's level, which meant the county took on more claims responsibility. So you took on more liability, but we managed the liability.
Mhm.
Whereas, you know, doing that by yourself is a little harder. So, I mean, I think we're all doing the right thing with the material we have to work with, knowing that the biggest increase comes from Wellmark, and that's the toughest part to manage. But, you know, I think if you compare yourselves, if you talk to other counties that aren't in IGHCP, they're just out there by themselves, I think they have a very different story to tell. Very different.
And there was other groups too, there's, what is it?
ICP,
Yeah.
ISAC has a... Yeah.
They would try to work similarly to this.
ISAC is very different than ours. They're self-funded, it's called a NEWA. They're very different, but the ICT, the Iowa Community Trust out of Dubuque, they're exactly like us. Because they're that split off group, in Hancock County Lab, they created their own trust that...
That's just a rough deal. This insurance is just...
Well, if we can't find that number for you, we can get it to you later.
Yeah. Well, and we're sticking around, I think we're gonna go and meet with the auditor's office.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got some new employee packets for some new
All right,
hires.
I didn't wanna get you late for your meeting.
No, we're in good shape.
Do they have a supervisors meeting in Clay County today?
No, we're meeting with the city of Spencer today,
Oh,
and then
city of-
tomorrow we have Clay and Emmett County. We have Clay
Their
County
actual
first.
board meeting.
Yeah,
The
actually.
city of Spencer is in this group?
Uh-huh,
Okay.
yep.
What's your qualifications for being in this
We
group?
really want the employer to have roughly 50 employees. That's what our requirement
And
is.
healthy employees.
We do.
Well, that would be preferable.
I mean, they look really hard at the past claims, so that they don't take on a group that has a lot of unhealthy people.
Boy, we wouldn't be doing so well here recently.
No, you guys are fine. I mean, when he says unhealthy, I mean unhealthy. Most recently, the county that we declined coming in, where they had an ongoing claim that was in excess of $2 million a year.
Yikes.
So, you know, as much as we wanna grow,
That's a true catastrophic
it's
one.
it's devastating.
Yeah, that's,
And I'll tell you, from a humanity perspective, it's hard. 'Cause
Yeah, it's hard to say no.
It's terrible, because I know what we're doing, we're not doing it to them, but I know what our answer does to them.
right.
It leaves them on that island alone, but I have to look out for the current membership.
Right.
I mean, that's my number one priority. You know, you guys want to grow, if you don't, you put pressure on me to grow, because if we're growing,
The more you spread, the more you have.
that's how we spread
Yeah.
that risk, but he's right, you want to go in the right way.
And we had someone in our group last year that had $1 million claims that we absorbed.
2.2 million. Yeah, out of the premature baby. By the way, we just got follow up on that baby. He's doing really well.
Good.
Very good, so. But that county, again, that would have been devastating. You know, they enjoyed the same low increase that everybody else did. That claim didn't impact them one bit.
Can't imagine opening that envelope and looking at that claim with no help.
Well, we're waiting, so I guess just on the
Yeah.
percentage thing, that we can get to you, so you know what we budgeted.
Yeah.
And we'll make that.
I have a question for us. I'm just gonna use a hypothetical, say it's 5.5. Do we leave it at 5.5, or do we have a discussion that it's gonna be more?
I think if we can handle a little bit more, I wouldn't mind bumping it up just to give us a little
So
credit.
would you have to do a budget?
I'd rather keep
I don't know.
pushing a decent cushion as opposed to getting down and
Yeah.
2 or 3 years from now, having to say, here, we gotta do this. That's I'm with you.
Yeah.
If you could do, 2 years of 6, or, something like that, rather than have a 5.5 and an 8.
Yeah, where we pick up 1% over our cost.
Yeah. Because again, anything you do over this 5.3 at 8 is essentially taking it from the county's left pocket and putting it in your right.
Yeah, we're not
If you don't
spending
use
it.
it's...
We're building back
We're
that,
moving from this fund to this.
it's building that back, and given, like I said about insurance companies, not you guys, or gals.
We fight it like you do.
I don't trust them. I don't trust the rate increases.
Yep.
And so, yeah, the partial self-funding is very important. So, I just,
No, I mean, I think that's prudent, and, and you're right, and history has shown you shouldn't trust what future costs are gonna be. It's hard and it's unpredictable. We do our best to manage it, but, we're not. And the bad thing is that, you guys have you have a lot more on your plate than insurance, and you're trying to handle, raises and then that gets eaten up by my conversation.
that's the point of not getting
Yeah.
too carried away, because we had in-depth discussion about keeping costs down. So this isn't, it's the future at 6% versus 5.5 type thing, but yet, we don't wanna get crazy, jumping that up and, we just wanna build up this partial self-funding so much
Yeah.
and raise it 7 or 8%.
At the end of the day, they are your claims, right? So I mean, whatever claims we get in and we process, we have to pay those providers. So let's say the worst case scenario happens, and obviously I do not anticipate this, but let's say you were to use all of your reserve and you don't have enough money. That's a terrible phone call that I have to make, and I would have to make it to you guys and say, we're out of money, providers can pay, and you guys would have to make a direct contribution to that reserve. So they are your claim. So it's just a matter of, how do we budget so that phone call doesn't have to be made, and so we don't create an emergency, so that we just have a little bit at a time.
That's cushion.
Yep.
So, well, we'll have to get that number. Here was my other question, if we can you address this at all?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I think we can.
Well, we can take a look at that. That was
We're
on,
on Cindy's.
maybe Cindy knows.
Okay, yeah, I'll have her glance at that, and I'm gonna finish real quick. Okay, so on page 12 is your life insurance overview and renewal. So no changes in those costs. You're currently providing a $10,000 benefit to your employees. The county pays that for your employees, $20,000 if it's an accident or dismemberment. a 0% renewal going forward there.
Well, that's good news, huh?
Yeah. And then, next is just an overview of your EAP, your Employee Assistance Program. When we have our meetings with your employees for open enrollment, we'll spend a good deal amount of time reminding them about this benefit. This is a nice benefit that the county provides to them by virtue of the life insurance policy.
Oh, really?
Yep. So IHCP negotiated with the life insurance carrier that anybody that purchases life insurance through IHCP gets this employee assistance program for no cost. I mean, that's about a $20,000 a year benefit, so that was a nice add-on for IHCP. And again, when you look at our ancillary benefits, like life insurance or dental or vision, those benefits, we use the same economies of scale and our size for buying power with those carriers that we do with Walmart. So we were able to get a nice benefit for IHCP there. And then on page 14 is the current membership. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we did add 2 new cities, the city of Lamar's and the city of will be added to this list as well. We have a couple counties that we're talking to, but we now will push to May. I don't think we'll have any new counties this year, but we have a couple that we're talking to for 2021.
And the reason we only have 2 schools is you can no longer add schools.
You can no longer add schools.
For some reason, I don't know why that is.
Because Walmart administers a handful of schools trusts. So they're
Conflict of interest.
They're 28Es just like we are, but they're for just schools. Walmart really wants to see those schools and those programs on our program. The reason we have these 2 schools is because they were already our client before IGHCP was created, like you. So they were part of the original 8, like you, that just tried to get us to our numbers. With that said, Keokuk Schools is exiting to be with the schools. Yeah. So they're gonna pull out July 1st. They've been with us for over 15 years, so it's a sad departure, but we certainly appreciate.
They sit next to that lady.
Yeah, we appreciate that they want the camaraderie that you all have, at those meetings. I think she just doesn't feel like she has the, resources or the action that she can get from a
common that with the other ones, yeah. And that helps.
It does.
Networking really helps.
It does, and I can appreciate that. City of Plain Waterworks is new. I'm not sure if you knew that.
Yeah, I knew that, yeah.
Okay, so, other than nice to add, they're a pretty big group. City of Fort Dodge is new. They're a pretty big group. And Hardin County is our newest county, too, so that's, in a nutshell, a year, what happened last year. So we will, like I said, we're gonna be here for a little bit because you have some new hires that we're gonna, handle with the auditor's office. So while working with them, we'll see if we can find that budget number, and then we'll let you know what that looks like, working with the budget, and then we could also run, let's say she says it's 5.5%, we'll rerun it at 5.5%, but I can also run like a 6.5%.
See what the difference would be?
Yeah, see what that does to your partial.
Good idea.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I know, is this just a phone-in deal?
Is it what?
Just a phone-in for this program?
There are 4 face-to-face counseling for either worksite problems, depression, any type of counseling. There are 4 face-to-face a year as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Who do they contact?
So the employees, there's, the auditor's office should have brochures, and on there's a appropriated card that comes out, and it has all the contact information, the phone numbers, and everything on there, so.
Okay, and it's even got travel resources.
Oh, yeah, and that's just a small part of what is available. It's a very little,
I knew about this, but not...
We have not talked about it in a few years. Obviously, last year, I didn't even get to come here into employees. Yeah, I did too. And then, so I think the last time we met with your employees where we talked about the EAP was in 2013.
Okay, so this is another, it's kind of like the call-in position.
Yeah, yes.
It's a no cost, no really added cost, it's with the program.
It's a free resource to your employees, and it's a
So
big
this is, yeah, I knew kind of about this, but like I said, we haven't talked about it.
We haven't.
How long?
Well, it's a whole year to forget, because, yeah, so, when we do the employee meeting, which, we're gonna arrange with the auditor's office.
It's on the 20th.
Oh, thank you. So on May 20th, we'll be here holding the employee meeting for your employees, and we will be spending a fair amount of time in that meeting, reminding them of you. Yeah, so you should come.
Yeah. I was just, Cindy, did you come up with anything?
So on the retiree, so, it sounds like it's over in-house, and it's talked about, EDF taking over COBRA and retiree administration. So that takes the liability off you. All you have to do is we make sure we get new hires and terminations from you, and then EDF will take care of all the letters that go out. They'll make sure that, everybody that's eligible will be offered the coverage, and then they'll take care of all the premiums coming in. You don't have to do anything else after that. It is $1.10 per employee per month for the cost. And that's for active employees, yeah. And, but the liability that COBRA has, EDF does a really, really good job.
I think we did this about a month or so.
So anyway, so the retiree, what they like to do is they just like to ask all these questions, because that way when they get a retiree, they know exactly how you want it handled. So they're not coming back to you each time going, okay, well, I have this difference than you're in now. So that's why, it is kind of overwhelming, to see, I don't know how to answer all these, but, it looks like you have answered everything. Did you have questions on any of them, or?
Well, this is from the auditor who had questions to us, and we certainly, you are a way better resource to do. Does that look okay? Does that work moving forward?
Yes, yes.
And the cost is?
$1.10.
That's per?
For them to manage it and do all the paperwork.
That's added per person that's on the plan right now.
Exactly, per employee.
Per employee.
So on the bill, on the monthly bill, there's gonna be one more column. It's gonna be $1.10 for every single person.
Okay.
If they have anybody with medical coverage.
Yes.
But you said now,
So if they waive medical and they just have life,
no.
they won't be, it's just, because medical, dental, and vision are covered under COBRA.
Right.
So it's just be medical.
And you said employees, so people with family plans?
You still just one.
Just one?
Yep, just the one per employee.
So-
Per policy, look at it as a policy.
Per policy, yeah.
Per policy.
So, yeah,
Just look at it as a
I-
policy.
So we haven't really agreed to that yet.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
We
we did.
accepted that about a
We did.
month ago.
I was gonna say it was a month or so.
Month or so
we did it.
Okay, so we're good with that.
We figure
We're good.
the
Okay.
cost for our office to manage it,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
if
it's
something went wrong,
Yeah.
I mean, then the county is liable for it. I mean, it was,
Well, Cindy mentioned, did you get back to your group on this?
EBS, Employee Benefits Administrator, that processes
Right.
claims.
It's, okay, EBS.
Yeah, we have a whole COBRA retiree department, and that's all they do, is
I
compliance.
figured that was a good.
I can only-
So, what happens is, when an employee retires, or we notify you, and you take care of everything?
Yes, you just say, I know it doesn't work here anymore, they were either because of the termination or retiree, we take it from there.
Yeah, and then they notify them if they're eligible for COBRA and all that.
And we track it, we make sure, because the federal government requires paperwork. Every time you have a new hire, there's paperwork, every time you have termination or retiree, there's paperwork, and then there's premium remittance, and it all has to be timely, and based on their reason for termination, the time frame in which COBRA is available changes. So it's a lot to know and remember.
Well, prior to this, and.
We handled it in the
It was all
office.
in-house.
Yeah.
Is this something you just, started, or just?
No, we've been doing it for ever.
Oh,
Up since, I wanna say, since like 1983.
Oh, really?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so this was, funny we didn't talk about this sooner.
I don't think they mentioned it to us, as far as I know.
Yeah, I mean, typically, we make it available, that these are the resources that we have, but if a group feels comfortable self-administering, we certainly don't get in the way of that.
and maybe, I don't know how many they had to administer, and, you know, or work through. Maybe it's probably not a huge amount, but
Well, and
That's
over laws have
penalties
changed.
changed. That's, I think, what a lot of the
Something,
needs
yeah.
to change.
You have to keep up on all of,
There's,
all of
it
that.
is, there's always changes.
There's always change, there's a change right now due to the pandemic, and
Of course.
now they're gonna go back and they're gonna offer, COBRA to people back to October 2019.
Probably without going because of-
I mean, it was just,
Yeah, and to be fair, if you called me personally with a COVID question, and I do this every day, I would refer to my COVID department, because it's that much to know, and it's that technical that I don't want to.
so essentially it got worse.
Yes, yes, more complicated.
Regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, regulations never get easier.
No.
No.
They just tack on more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you go to the doctor, they say, here's another pill.
We did agree to add this.
Yes, yes,
if you will.
yes,
Okay,
we did.
you got it. So, thanks, Cindy,
Yeah, no.
we're good then.
Yeah, that's fine, and I know they were looking forward to this, so, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
They still haven't promised.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll go in, visit with them, we'll figure it out, and then we'll get it back to you guys, so that you can take a look at a couple of different options.
And what's our
It's gonna be in
time,
the neighborhood of the 5.5 to the 6.5, somewhere in there, wherever we got it.
what's our time frame then to decide what we want to come up with for rate, so to speak, percentage increase?
I think we should know by next week.
Well, I know,
Yeah, but
for you
We'd like,
folks.
yeah, we'd like to have by the end of the month, just so it's set up on both EPS and Walmart
when
side.
you say the end of the month, you talking April or May?
The end of the month next week, in a few days.
Yeah,
So I'd
that's
say,
right.
okay, so I'd say a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks would be
Oh,
fine.
so you
Next
talked to
supervisor meeting's fine.
Okay.
papers and.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay?
Perfect, we
All right.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too.
Good luck with all the rest of your funny
Thank
rounds.
you.
Are you,
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I think we are done.
Yeah, there's nothing else left on here.
No. First, a second to adjourn.
All
in favor?
Aye. Aye.
We are adjourned at 10:44.
Denise always does a great job of explaining this complicated stuff.
It's a process.
It is. At least I somewhat understand it now after being in it for 4 years.
well,
I'm getting the gist of it.
They explain it real well in here.
Yeah.
well,
She does, I said,
it's
she
like you're at
she does a great job.
Spanish class.
Yeah.
The first time I went down there, or the only time.
They hand this stuff.
I sat there and I was like,
Yeah.
this is
Oh, I know, I used to
Yeah, you
go
don't
to
have
this
to clue
every
it.
year, and it's like, ugh.
Said, well, thanks a lot for this nice thing, but
Yeah.
I'd like somebody to run through it. She always does a really good job of it.
10:44, is that what you said?
Yeah, I wrote down 10:44.
I'll just
Did we shut the
put this
recorder
on
off?
the...
It is now.
All the microphones are off.
All right.
Oh, you're fine, I'm just